Greetings, I am Tom Earl. On this week's episode, I speak with Slam Anderson about how nightmares can lead to dreams. Check it out. Greetings, I am Tom Earl. Welcome to the celebration. As you know, this is my year of courage. We know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you are here today, sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy, means the world to us. We hope you know that here in this space we are holding for you, you are loved just as you are. On this week's episode, I am interviewing the legendary, the epic, my great friend and former teammate, Slam Anderson. Oh, for those
Hello,
listening,
everyone.
Slam's waving. What's going on, Slam?
Nothing much. How are you doing?
Good, good. I know who you are, and I love you so much. Do you mind if I do an introduction for you to the good folks out there?
That's fine.
Okay, cool. Slam Anderson was born in Gainesville, Florida, the fourth child out of 5 siblings, raised by a single mother. She spent the important adolescent years of her life in the DCF foster care system. She moved to Tampa, Florida to attend the University of South Florida for a BA in creative writing and is now working on her Master of Social Work. She is the former president of the Poets at USF. Slam is a strong advocate of youth social welfare. As part of her outreach task for the nonprofit Kitchen Table, Slam facilitates a writing program called Writing for Healing. Slam works in the community to promote literacy, self-empowerment, awareness of youth social welfare, domestic violence, social justice, and most importantly, love for ourselves and for others. Slam's life quote is, "Sometimes a nightmare can lead to a dream." It's powerful. So, Slam, anywhere you'd like to jump in on that bio, if you can take us back, what led you to this journey that you are on now?
My journey of spoken word started when I was in 8th grade. I was given a poetry project assignment by my 8th grade teacher, Miss Wells. Still remember her. And it was just, we were going through a poetry section, so we had to make a portfolio. And I was a very bad kid. I had a lot of anger issues, a lot of discipline issues in 8th grade. So, of course, I didn't want to work on the assignment. So my teacher asked me to leave the class and not to slam her door. That was her big thing. She hated when people slam her door. So, of course, me being a disciplined child at this time, when I walked out because I didn't want to participate, I immediately slammed the door as hard as I possibly could. And then she came right back after me like she was my mom, basically like, "Why are you slamming my door?" And instead of sending me to the principal's office like any other teacher would do, she actually just sat my desk outside and she made me write or work on my project while I was outside. And she basically was like, "You obviously have a lot of anger. You obviously have a lot of stuff you want to say. So just say it. Just start writing and say it." And so I started writing when I was out there. I took stuff home and I started writing. And by the time I came back the next day, I had just notebook papers full of just poems and stuff I just needed to get out. And she was just like, "Oh my goodness, I knew that you had a lot of stuff you wanted to say." And so that's when poetry actually was first introduced to me. And it was just introduced to me as something just to allow me to let my feelings out. Because I did have a lot of things inside of me I needed to get out with no way of how to release them. So it started out just therapy, just something to do to help me release. And so when I got into school at USF, my RA told me about the poets at USF. She actually took me to a meeting and had me go there. That was my first introduction to spoken word and performance poetry. And of course, I immediately loved it. And so that's kind of how my journey of spoken word started, and actually how I got my name Slam, because when I went with stuff to perform, Denisha Lawton at the time was the president. She come to me, she was like, "Hey, what do you do?" I was like, I do slam poetry, because that's all I knew it to be called at the time, slam poetry. That's just from YouTube, Def Poetry Jam, slam poetry. That's all I knew. And so she was like, "Okay, well, what's your name?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's Tiffany." She's like, "Tiffany, okay, I got you. So when she called me up as the slam poet. She's like, "Y'all give it up for the slam poets. We're gonna do a slam poet." And that's really how everybody knows me. And they went from being the slam poet to slam the poet, and then to just slam. And it's been sticking ever since then. And that's kind of how I entered this world of spoken word and this world of Tampa spoken word as well.
That's awesome. I love how 2 slams started off your career with the slamming of the door, slam poetry. That's awesome. How have you found writing has changed your life now that you've started?
I mean, it has just opened so many doors for me. Like, it really has. I mean, a lot of what I'm doing right now is because of spoken word and because of writing. Even with the kitchen table, being able to work for the kitchen table. I mean, we're a literary organization. So what we do is writing and reading. So just that has, my passion for writing has opened the door for me to be able to be an outreach director for that. Working with the kids from a kid's place, writing spoken word opened the door for that. I met the people at a kid's place because I performed at a fundraiser at USF. I did a poem about foster care at USF, and they loved it. And so we started talking, and then boom, something else opened the door for me. So it really has just been just opening doors for me and just giving me another way to express myself and to talk and relate to people. That's another thing I really love about poetry. I know a lot of people like, when you do poetry, you always gonna get fans or a lot of people who come talk to you. I don't even look at it as fans. I just look at it as another way to network with people. Because when I'm done doing a poem and if it related to someone, they come and talk to me. And I like that, because it makes me feel like I'm not alone in what I was feeling or what I was talking about. And not only that, it makes me know that I'm not just doing this for myself, because I don't like to feel like I'm being a selfish person. So if one person comes up to me, it's like, I didn't just do this for me. I knew it was someone else out there who needed to hear it. So I feel good that it's allowing me to help people, which is something I love to do, help people.
I know that, in your bio, it talks about, most importantly, love for ourselves and for others. Would you say spoken word has allowed you that journey of self-love for yourself and for others?
Yes, it definitely has. So like I was saying, so I had a lot of self-doubt. So just that confidence, and not only that, but when I'm able to write about, I was a person at first, I didn't like writing about myself, but recently I did bring myself into some of the pieces more, just talking about me and not being afraid to release my identities, because I feel like we all have so much part of us. And a lot of people these days, they want us to just center in on one part of us, just center in on being Black, or just center in on being female, or just center in on being gay. And I'm like, that's not just me. I'm all of those things. I'm Black, I'm female, I'm gay, I'm a human being. I can't center in on being one part of me and ignore the rest of me. I need to be able to love all of who I am and be able to stand up and advocate for all the parts of who I am. And one of the biggest parts of who I am is human. I'm a human being. I'm a person. So I want to advocate for other human beings, shed love for them as well as for myself. Because through all of that, the first thing I was human. And then I was all those other things. So just love for just the fact that we are people, and love for ourselves as people, and love for all the people around us. So spoken word has allowed me to bring that stuff into my poems and then share that message with other people who probably wouldn't listen to me if we were having just a regular conversation.
I do find that as well, that the things you can say in a spoken word poem, where if I was just come back, "Hey, I'm Tom," like, get out of here.
Exactly. But you got to finesse it. When you finesse it in a poem, it's like, oh, I didn't even say it like that.
So speaking of poetry, would you mind sharing one of your poems with the good people listening / watching?
I would. So I talked about identity, and just, all my parts of my identity. So I'm going to do a poem that I kind of do when I'm introducing myself, but it just talks about having love and being able to have love for all the parts of you. So, what is it you don't like about me? It's because I'm Black, educated, dread-headed, homosexual, or female. I'm everything but one thing, but everywhere I go, they throw rocks at my soul and damn me to hell. I used to prefer death over their stares. Young, insecure girl glistening with self-conscious tears, you told me there was only one way to feel, and anything else was a sin. You made me hate the skin I was in until I ripped it. So all you could see is my broken bones. I've been a burden on this world since the day I was born. You couldn't keep me from loving her, so your option was to hate me. You couldn't keep me barefoot and pregnant, so your option was to abuse me. You couldn't keep me in chains, so your option was the grave. You've been trying to kill me for 29 years, but I just keep fighting. Black rights, women rights, and gay rights. But one right still leaves me with two wrongs. How do I choose who to fight more for? And why do I have to fight more for one than I do the others? But I was first taught to love my brothers, but see, my brothers see me as a threat to their manhood. See, a woman can give birth, but two women can't raise a child better than a man, and a woman could. Who would they call father? Well, let me ask you, how many of y'all know who your daddy is? Because half of my generation don't know who their daddy is, but I'll tell you what my daddy did. He left my mother, and my mother raised her kids, so my child be lucky enough to have two. Two women, two mothers doing what mothers do instead of one trying to be father too. But you say it's common sense for a man to be with a woman. Well, the only reason why it makes sense is because it's common, the usual, the way it's always been. And we wonder why we have to remind people that Black lives matter. Because common sense shows us Black lives have never mattered to you. And equality will never exist for us. And justice will never be granted to those who are different. Using common sense to hide common lies that mislead the common people. We are the common people, falling behind these common leaders, and we wonder why nothing has changed. This is the 21st century. When Kevin Gates can write a song about abusing his girlfriend and get 3 million thumbs up on YouTube. But when Marissa Alexander shoots a warning shot in the air to protect herself and her kids, she gets sentenced to prison. The 21st century, when me and my girlfriend can't walk down the street without a man grabbing her by the elbow and saying, yo, sweetie, I got something that can kill that for you. Then I'm seen as inappropriate and irate when I say, man, please, you ain't got nothing I can't buy. See, you've been misinformed. She's had you before, but she'd rather have me more. And this gonna tick off a few Christians, but this world rejected Jesus too. See, they told me that their Bible said my skin color was a curse. And now they say that their Bible say the way I'm living is a sin. Well, my Bible says love thy neighbor. My Bible say don't throw stones if you do not know perfection. Please do not get me in here preaching. But go ahead. I'll be your culprit. I gave this world 5 reasons to despise me. I'm Black. I'm educated. I'm dread-headed. I'm homosexual. I'm female. 5 reasons why the killer in me would be justified. 5 reasons why he didn't have to think twice before pulling his gun. Because everything about me says that I'm a threat, a problem that needs to be dealt with. I symbolize everything that's wrong with this new generation. This same-sex, smart-mouth, nappy-headed Negro. I'm this world's worst nightmare, and I'm not going anywhere. So you better learn how to make this nightmare lead to a dream. Because I'm proud of everything that makes me me. From my head to my breasts to my toes. And I wouldn't change it if I had a choice. So I said loud and I said proud, I am Black. I am educated. I am dread-headed. I am homosexual. And I'm female. And I go by the name Slam.
Woo! Slam, I love how your poems, they're like so fire, but you always end with like a line where you know the audience has got to be like, ah! That's powerful. What does it feel like to perform a poem like that to an audience of people who are resonating with every word and snapping, and you see them being like, yes, what does that feel like?
It feels great. Like, honestly, I tell people all the time, I feed off the energy of the crowd. So when I can feel it and I can see it in their eyes, I'm going in even more. Like, because it's like, I can't help it. It's like that adrenaline is just pushing, is motivating me to give them more. So I'll perform even harder. I'll try to give them all of me that I possibly can. Because the fact that they want it, I want to give it to them.
What was the writing process like for this poem?
I wrote this poem over the course of probably 2 years or so, or even longer probably, because I started writing this poem I want to say, oh my goodness, it was so long ago, but it didn't come out like this. When I first wrote it, it literally was just a vent from Facebook. I saw something on Facebook. Oh, it was around the time gay marriage had just came out as being legalized, and everyone was, a whole bunch of wedding was going on. And somebody had posted something, and they were like, I know you all want to celebrate this, but this is nothing. I mean, Black people still got this going on, and this is still going on. And then I commented, well, I didn't even comment it, but when I read it, to me, what I felt from it is that, I feel like, don't tell someone not to be joyous about something. I feel like we need small, joyous moments, small victories to remind us what we're fighting for. If we continue just to be angry and angry and angry, we're going to forget what it feels like to celebrate, to be happy about something, about achieving something, And people need to remember what that feeling is, or why, why do it? Why are we pushing for stuff just to be more angry? Why did we fight for gay rights just to be angry because there are other rights we're still fighting for? We're not fighting we're not fighting and thinking that everything is going to be resolved overnight. That's not going to happen. We know that everything's a process. So let's celebrate these small victories. That's not to say we stop fighting. That's to say, hey, we know what it feels like to win. This is a win. Don't it feel good? Let's celebrate this win and let's go feel it again somewhere else. And so I didn't like when people was going over Facebook and they were getting mad at people who were celebrating this. Kind of like, well, why you celebrate this? Is that? And someone had put it in another way for me. They was like, when it's somebody's birthday and it's all this going on, you don't tell them, why are you celebrating your birthday? Don't you know all this stuff is going on in the world? No, you say, happy birthday. Enjoy your day. Matter of fact, have a birthday week. Enjoy your week. You don't say, why you celebrate your birthday? Don't you know this is me? Let us have something so we remember what it feels like, so we continue to fight. Because if all we feel is sadness, what are we fighting for? More sadness? To feel more angry? Well, I might as well just sit in my house and not do anything. I can do that on my own. I don't need to fight to feel angry. I can feel angry by myself. I'm fighting so I can know what it feels like to feel good and to feel celebrated and to have something that I rightfully deserve. So that's what that poem started as, just saying that I'm going to be proud of everything that's part of me, and I'm going to fight for everything that's part of me. And then even the part that says, one wrong, two rights. That's what I put it in there just to get people to see that. It's like, you have this and you have this. Yes, I understand that, but I'm still going to celebrate this. And then I'm going to continue to fight for these other two as well. So.
It's powerful. Mm-hmm. And I remember that exact day too. I was right after the announcement came, I was at a spoken word event and people were kind of saying a similar thing that you were just highlighting. And I was saying to them, like, that the vanguard of almost every Black Power movement, whether it's Black Lives Matter or what have you, has been led by queer Black women. So how are you going to say, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. This is,
You said it in your poem, and you also have it in your bio, that your life quote is, sometimes a nightmare can lead to a dream. What does that mean for you?
So I feel like just when I think about my life, and I don't feel like this in general too, because, I did, when I was with my mom, my mom was amazing. Like I tell people, she was a great mom. She made her mistakes like anyone else, and she had things that she probably didn't get help for, but she was amazing, mom. So I tell people, when I describe when I was younger, being in foster care and things like that I was going through, it's kind of like I was born into a nightmare. I was born into a situation that I had no control over, that I felt like I couldn't be heard in. I was uncomfortable. It's just be, but I had no choice because none of us have a choice to where we were born. We don't go to our parents and be like, hey, can you make me born in America? Make sure that we're rich. Also, we don't get that option. It's kind of like we're born and here we are. And so I feel like, I was born into this situation, the situations that I was born into. And now I'm learning to turn those situations into a dream, and which means I'm learning to use the stuff I went through, I learned from going through, the resources that I had to find. I'm learning to use those skills, that critical thinking I had to become a dream now, to lead to a dream. And one thing I also mentioned to people is that we always say to ourselves, we want to be somewhere, we want to be here. Like, this is our goal. This is you want to get to. And we be like, we don't understand why we're not here. We feel like we've put in the work. We shed the tears. We sweat. We bled. We did all of that. Why am I not here yet, universe? What is going on? And I feel like, that's that part. We're in that nightmare trying to get to this dream, and we're trying to figure out why we're not there. And I feel like the leading part, the part that we make this lead, is where we learn how to use those obstacles and things we went through as resources in our backbone to get there. It's kind of like analogy that I used before. It's like, you want to be a fighter, you ready to take on the championship. You ready to take on the heavyweight fighter right now. But it's like, if you get into that ring with that fighter the way you are, you're going to lose. You're going to 100% be knocked out in the first 5 seconds. But let's say you go through these things. You've been fighting for years. You've been jumping over obstacles. You've been training. You've been fighting some of the other people who are saying the best. Maybe they're not the champion, but they're known to be the best. And you've been fighting them. You've been working to beating them, and you've been strengthening yourself. So then once you get there to fighting and you getting into this ring with this champion, you're ready to win. You're ready to win because you went through what you had to go through to strengthen yourself to win. If you would have just jumped in that ring, you would have lost because you didn't have the backbone. You didn't have the strength. So you needed to go through that. So it's just about, I don't want to take away the fact that, the nightmare fact, because that's what it looks like to us. It looks like a nightmare. So I don't want to take away that. It's a nightmare where some of us feel like we're born into these nightmares, but it's what we do when we're in them, and it's how we take that knowledge that we're learning, and we let that lead us to these dreams. We use that as a resource to push us to where we really know we deserve to go. So.
And when would you say in your life that you started to embrace this, empowering philosophy and mindset?
I would say I was about 15, 16. I was definitely in high school. And I was raised very spiritual, very religious, Pentecostal, and so I remember I was going to have to stay back or something, or take summer school because I was acting up in school still 8th grade, now in high school, still was being acting up, And so my godfather came to me and he was like, is this where you want to be your whole life? Like, you want to be right here. You want to be in this town doing the same things, not doing anything. Is that where you want to be? And I was like, no. And it wasn't even that I didn't want to be in this town. It was, I didn't want to be in my situation. That's how I looked at it as. I was like, no, I don't want to be in a place where I can't control what's going on with me. I don't want to be somewhere where I don't feel comfortable. And after that, that's when I realized I can do one or two things. I can let everything that's happened to me continue to control my life and use that as an excuse to why I'm continuing messing up, or I'm not caring. And you know what? I would have every right to do that because I did go through stuff that was out of my control. And yes, there's some people who go through them things and they need more time to process. But I knew I didn't need that, but I could have used that as an excuse. Or I could say, you know what? You're right. I can't control that stuff, but I'm okay now. And I can control what's happening to me now. And I can say that I'm going to do something different. And I chose to do something different. And I chose to say, you know what? I'm going to take this nightmare and I'm going to turn it into this. And I feel like everybody in their life goes through that. We all go through it at different ages, though. Some people younger, some people older. But I think it comes to a point when everyone has to realize, look, you got one or two things. You can let all this stuff that's happening to you continue to change you and make you to be somebody that you know you don't want to be. And you have every right to do that. Who's to say that you don't? Who's to say that your pain is not justified? Because it is. But On the other hand, you could say, you know what, my pain is justified, but I'm not going to let it be, I'm not going to use it to justify my continued mistakes or my continued pain that kind of I fall into. I'm going to use it to justify why I'm fit to do great, why I'm fit to motivate other people, why I'm fit to help other people who've been through what I've been through. I'm going to use it to why I write poetry. I'm going to use it to why I perform poetry. I'm going to use it to why I write books, why I sing songs, why I release tracks, why I do therapy for people, why I learn yoga for people. That's what I'm going to use it as. So we can say we're going to use it to justify why we do those things, or we can use it to justify why we don't want to do anything. So I chose to use it as why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Slam, I'm so grateful that you use your voice to share everything you have, because just listening to you, I know that there are people who in this very second, this is exactly what they needed to hear, and that you said it in a way that they could connect with. You know what I mean? Me, even myself, just listening, just like very empowering. And so I appreciate it. I know I asked you two very vulnerable personal questions in a row, and that you went there for us. So I appreciate that. Would you mind sharing with us another one of your awesome poems?
I will, and actually I'm going to share a new piece. And I actually call this new piece Sometimes a Nightmare Leads to a Dream. And I actually wrote it specifically for kids in foster care. And it's kind of like my piece of some of the things that that I've seen when I was in it. So this piece is actually called Sometimes a Nightmare Can Lead to a Dream. I'm afraid of the darkness. Born into a nightmare where soprano screams overpower the bass of laughter. So I never close my eyes. Convinced that the images I see will cause me death in my sleep, so I suffer from insomnia. Who am I? I dislike fairy tales, like Beauty falling in love with the beast. I've met and lived with that beast, and even with love, they never change. And don't mention Cinderella, because every foster care kid knows that the evil stepmother and stepfather always gets away with it. And I dislike bedtime stories like The Three Little Bears, because every foster care kid knows you never get too comfortable in a place. You never call that your home, because everything you love never loves you in return. Who am I? I'm a stack of papers in a manila folder. Who am I? They took me from my home, put chains on my mother, separated me from my sisters and brothers. They moved me from crowded house to crowded house. I didn't sleep at night, afraid others' night demons would give power to my own. There's too much company for misery in these houses. Too much room flesh for evil creatures to feast on. So many hearts filled with quiet anger. So many vulnerable souls for the devil to play with. He paces himself. There's no need to rush. There will always be more. There are too many unwanted souls looking for a home. Why create masterpieces if you don't have a wall to hang them on? Why birth kings and queens if you don't have a throne to sit them on? Why ask God for a gift that you can't take care of? See, that's it. It's not them, it's you. Because in them I see truth. And them I see proof that God does exist. These kids hold superhuman strength. They carry the mistakes of others and still walk on water with faith and no doubt. I want to tell them all that weeping may endure for tonight, but joy comes in the morning. So don't be ashamed of your tears. Even Jesus wept. Don't be ashamed of the stitches and tears on your skin. I'm surprised I'm still holding myself together, always sewing myself back together. Don't let your past haunt you. You don't have to be what your mother was. You don't have to do what your father did. Jesus went from being the son of a carpenter to the savior of men. Who am I? Some call me at risk. Disadvantage. I've been disregarded and abandoned. I'm a statistic. Been told I have a small chance of making it. I second guess myself daily. I self-medicate with prayer because I don't trust a pill, because my family has a history of addiction. I guess this is my benediction. Didn't think this foster care kid would make it. Ward of the court. Hard to believe I used to belong to a building. Suicide used to be my escape plan. When I stopped sleeping, I started writing. I fought to turn this nightmare into a dream. Now I'm dreaming. You just got to push through it. It's dark now, but there's a natural light in your eyes that can light up your path. You just have to open them wide. You don't have to be what they want you to be. You can be what you want to be. Who am I? I'm living proof that a nightmare can lead to a dream. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Slam.
Yes. And just just to mention one more thing too, and another part of that I touch on, which is, why create masterpieces if you don't have a wall to bring them on. And just one thing, I mentioned that because, and it was like this then and it's still now, because one of the things, and this is something I try to advocate against, but one of the stigmas that bothers me is the stigma of foster care kids. And I think the reason why it bothers me is because we place it all on the kids instead of the person who's really responsible, which is the parents. Every time I talk to someone about foster care kids or something, the first thing they're like is, oh, they're bad kids, or oh, delinquent kids, or this and this. And we fail to realize that none of these kids asked to be in foster care. And once again, none of these kids asked to be born. They did not knock on their parents' stomach and say, hey, can you give birth to me? No, these are kids who are in situations they don't want to be in because the people who did give them life, or the people who were supposed to take care of them, aren't for some reason. And it upsets me because it's so many times when you talk to people about foster care kids, they're always talking about the kids, how bad the kids are, how the kids aren't disciplined, or this and this, but they never mention the parents. And it's like, why are you talking about the kids like this? Why aren't you mentioning the person who put them in this situation? Of course they're going to act like this. These are angry kids who are placed somewhere they don't want to be and have no control over where they're going next. There's no one coming to them and saying, hey, your next stop is going to be this house and it's going to have 4 bedrooms with a nice backyard. No, it's literally, hey, you got to leave now. Grab what you can. Someone's going to be here to pick you up. You don't know where you're going. And it just bothers me. And I feel like I wanted to mention that because I feel like that's something people need to hear, because I don't think it's a lot of people saying it. We're looking at these kids like they're the culprits when they're really the victims. And it's really the people who are supposed to be taking care of them that we need to put the blame on. And we're victim blaming. And I feel like it's always victim blaming when it comes to kids in foster care. And it just bothers me because it's like, these kids didn't do anything. It's the parents or whoever their guardians are. Those the ones you need to be talking about. Those the ones you need to be talking about has discipline issues, not these kids who are angry because they were unrooted from places and placed somewhere they didn't know they were going. And I just wanted to mention that.
And I'm glad you did. Appreciate that. What's it been like for you to now have the opportunity to lead spoken word workshops in foster care, in the foster care system?
I mean, it's been good. It's still fairly new and I'm still learning a lot. And what I'm noticing is that stuff change and stuff don't change. I mean, and it's just sometimes it makes me smile because I'm like, these kids they're very similar to how I was. And you're very standoffish. And it's because when I first started working at the facility, I mentioned this to the staff. And I told them, before I even came for the first time, it's like, if I come, I want to be able to set something up where I can come back again. Because one of the things I dislike when I was in foster care is that we always had people coming. Of course, everyone wants to do good. Everyone wants to volunteer their time for the less fortunate kids. But it's like, how many of you all coming back? How many of you all I'm going to see again? And that's one of the things that used to bug me. So I told them, I said, if I'm going to do this, I need to come back. I need to be in their eyes again. I don't want to come one stop. Hey, I'm here to do this poem to make you feel good for this one day. No, I want to be able to come back because that's one thing I hated. It's like, because on top of that, you don't even get into it. They can be somebody doing something really cool. You get into it for what it is, and then that's it. Because these people are only doing this because you need to feel good, or you want to feel like you're doing something for the less fortunate kids, type of thing. And so that was one thing I said, is that I didn't want to be that. So I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm coming back. And another thing is, I really try to talk to these kids. I don't want to just be there just to show you all or teach you all something. I want to be here also to talk to you all because, I know it's probably different and your situation is very different, probably from what I went through, but I know I can relate to the fact that you're somewhere you don't want to be and you don't know how long you're going to be here. So even if we can just talk about our feeling of knowing that we're places we don't want to be and just having someone else, a face for them to see that, yeah, I was there too. I was somewhere I didn't want to be either. And now I'm here. And I'm going to do what I can to give you something to help you get there too. Because writing honestly helped me get there. It wasn't, it was people too who supported me, but personally myself would help myself get there, because if you don't have yourself, people can tell you anything they want. You know, people can tell you all the good, kind, encouraging words they want about you. But if you don't have it here, you're not going to, it's in one ear, out the other. So writing helped me get myself together. And so that's what I try to teach them. It's like, I'm trying to teach you how to get yourself, because people around you are going to do what they're going to do. But if you have yourself, if you could get this together, you'll feel like, even if you don't see it, or even if you can't say, hey, take me home, you'll feel like you have control, because you have at least you, and you have what you know that you can personally do. And then you can advocate more. So even if you can't say, I don't want to go there, you know, and they won't listen, at least you'll speak. Because one of the things I didn't do that I wish I did more of when I was in foster care is speak more. But I didn't, because I didn't feel like people would listen anyway. So just giving them that voice in some way, I want them to have a voice. So if it's a voice in your writing, a voice in your performing, a voice in these stories that you're writing, but to give you a voice and let you learn how to use it and to speak up for yourself. Because you may think no one's listening, but somebody is listening somewhere. But if you don't say anything, you won't never know if they're listening, because you're not even saying anything to begin with. But you got to start by saying something first and having yourself. So.
Well, I appreciate, Slam, as I said already, that when you speak, it's always as all of the things you talk about in your bio, you know, to promote literacy and self-empowerment and awareness. So, you know, I appreciate that, because you got so many gifts, and like you already said, instead of them just being self-serving, that they serve everybody. So I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to share your last poem with us before we close out for the evening?
I do. And I guess I'll share, because I want to save some of because I was going to do it, but I don't want to spoil it. But I have a really good new piece, but I'm going to save it for the feature. But I'm going to do that one, but I'm going to save it for the feature. And I'm going to do another piece I love. I really like to do this piece. It's called I Write. And the reason why I like to do it, because I feel like it lets people know me. And I know this is supposed to be something where people get to know me. And it tells a little about my story, my writing story. So just real quick, I'm not good in grammar. Anybody who knows me knows that I suck at grammar. I'm getting better. I am getting better, because I told myself I do want to be a prose writer. I want to publish books. So I was like, you know, respect for the people who are going to read my stuff. I'm going to try to put in some periods and semicolons somewhere. I'll just kind of throw them in there every now and then where they look good. So this poem is called I Write, and it's basically just about my journey with writing and learning how to call myself a writer, despite not having what I feel like is all the tools and the equipment to do that. So I'm going to do this piece for you all. People tell me I write how I speak, and I learned how to talk from my mother. We are Southern girls with broken bells that grew up at the end of the dirt roads in Alachua and Archer, Florida. Satilla and Tupelo, Mississippi, small town girls with grown woman antidotes. My mother spoke in Proverbs. She said, I tell you, a sugar cane is sweetest at the joint. So don't go wishing away your sorrows, because rain don't fall on one roof alone. Use your God-given sense, because every closed eye ain't sleep, and every goodbye ain't gone. Don't set sail to nobody else's star, baby girl. You got to find your own. So am I wrong for wanting to be my mother's daughter? I'm her handwritten manuscript, a flower planted in gray gardens. Both me and little Edie have visions of being better. We are stones born into dirt with dreams of becoming diamonds, but our goals listed are sentence fragments. I am a writer who never comprehended the fundamentals of writing. My life is a dependent clause that leans too heavily on faith in God is my editor, but my teacher told me no one would be able to read my story because I don't know where to place a period and a semicolon. I write what I have lived, and I learned life from my mother. Her words were never cold and sweet. They were formed with mistakes her daughter was bound to repeat. My family reminds me daily, child, if you ain't got your mother's voice, you sound like her could have if she would have, but she didn't. I would never have the life I once envisioned in my head, but I'll break bread with the devil before I allow my daughter to be Mississippi. Damn is what she said. Just give my baby a life worth living. Give her a story worth reading. Give her a speech worth listening to. I'm a poet with diction. I don't articulate my words because truth is, I can't pronounce half of them. My verses come out slurs. I have a heavy tongue that lists my mother's providers for every word that it forms. But folks say my vocabulary is too simple to be viewed as intellectual. Well, I don't write for no scholars or philosophers. I don't speak for the over-analytical who characterize my dialect as ignorance. Pronounce is what my speech teacher shouted at me until the age of 16. What are you thinking? You can't omit the G from the present continuous suffix. That's not proper English. Well, I've been thinking that y'all getting too technical. I spit when I speak like tobacco's dripping from my lips. I'm a deep fried southern immigrant. My accent was inherited from my ancestral wisdom. I write how I speak, and I speak what I have lived. And if you can't understand what I'm saying, then you weren't supposed to hear.
Woo! Another one of those poems that ends that just makes people go crazy.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Slam, for sharing your poetry and your wisdom. And I love that shout out. This Sunday, December 16th, Slam will be the feature for our December and final live and online expression session of 2018. We hope you can join us once again. That's this Sunday, December 16th, 2018. That's at noon if you are on the West Coast, 2 p.m. if you're Central Time, 3 p.m. if you are on the East Coast, 8 p.m. if you're in London, 8 p.m. if you're in Nigeria, which I just returned from. Slam, thank you so much. This has been an amazing opportunity. Just have two more questions for you before we wrap up today. The first is that this has been my year of courage. We have a few weeks left of it. And my intention of that has been to ask everyday people, what does courage look like for them? And so I'd love to ask you, what is courage?
To me, I think courage is, in general, just stepping out or standing up, standing against, or standing on something that you truly believe in and have a strong feeling, positive feeling for, and knowing it could do something positive, but there's no backing. There's just you. There's no solid thing for you to step on. You know, it's like if you step out, you know, you could fall or you could stand. But inside of you, very strongly, you feel like if I do this, I'm going to stand and it's going to be good and a good thing is going to come out of this. And then doing that, I feel like it's courage. And I feel like that can be in any form. That's as simple as, you know what, I've been working this job for 20 years that I hate. And this other job I have no rapport there, but it's going to lead me towards something better and something I want to do. I think courage is saying, you know what, I'm going to quit this job I had for 20 years. I'm going to go to this other job and I'm going to stand on that. Or something as simple as, you know what, I've been living in this place for a while. I don't want to be here. I know if I go somewhere else what I can do, but there's no one supporting me. Everyone telling me don't do that. But inside, I know the great that could come out of this, and then doing it. And just saying, you know what, I'm going to do it. You know, or like I said, or even stepping against something that you see everybody in your world like, and you know what, the holidays are a perfect time, I think, to display courage. Because I just think about families, and you know, in your families, not everyone agree. You know, everyone has different point of views. I think like courage is when you all are sitting around at that Christmas, Thanksgiving dinner table, and you say, your family say something that you know isn't right. In no way, not that is not even in a way where, oh, it's just right to them. No, but it's just wrong in general. Courage is saying, hey, aunt, uncle, grandma, sister, brother, that's not right. Don't say that. Or giving them another way, or say this, or do this. Courage is standing up against that family that you know all your family is going to be like, oh, don't say it. Courage is standing up against them. And even something small as, you know, you have an uncle in your family who's been doing wrong, but no one ever says anything. Courage is, you know what, uncle, I'm going to call you out this time. What you've been doing is wrong. Even though, you know, the whole family is like, don't say anything. That's courage. So it's just basically just, you know, going with your gut feeling but knowing that gut feeling is something positive and it's going to lead to something positive, strong. And I say positive because like, I don't know courage with negativity, because I don't know if that's more courage. Like, it's going to be negative. I don't know that's courage. I think that's more just acting for self. I think courage is when it's going to benefit not just you, but the people around you. And so you do what you need to do that, even if it's against everything else.
That's wonderful. I appreciate that, Slam. And where can folks connect with you? We're on social.
So
go for it.
First of all, like I said, I'm the outreach director for Kitchen Table Literary Arts. So you can always catch us on our website, www.kitchen-table.org. I have an Instagram and I have a Facebook. It's Slam Anderson on Instagram and Facebook. I don't understand Twitter, so I don't have it. I don't like Snapchat because I don't agree with putting your face on other stuff. I don't want to see my faces anywhere but right on my face. So I don't have that. Because I don't agree with that stuff. And I don't even know anything else that's out there. So all I have is Facebook and Instagram. And I recently I haven't had Instagram that long. Kitchen Table, though, we have a Tumblr. So you can, I do our Tumblr page. So you can check out Kitchen Table out on Tumblr, Kitchen Table Literary Arts. We also have a Tumblr. We have an Instagram. We have a Twitter and a Facebook. So you can also catch me on any one of those things as well, because I'm very involved in my organization. So, if you can't catch me on my personal ones, you'll see me on those too.
Wonderful. And for people who are on the go and couldn't write all that down, tommerl.com/slam, tommerl.com/SLAM, tommerl.com/slam. You'll find all of the links, and it'll have a link for you to register for the live and online expression session, which is free this Sunday. You can attend online from anywhere in the world. Once again, Slam, thank you so much. I'm glad we got a chance to hang out and catch up and spend some time together. And, I got to know you a little better. I know people listening did as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And if I can leave anybody with anything, I'm going to leave you with something that I've learned from my work with Community Tampa Bay, which I've done volunteer for. And this is just a statement that's kind of been in my head. Just two quick quotes. One, this has been in my head as far as that's been helping me deal with other people in the world and not getting stressed and brought down by them. Assume best intentions with everyone you meet. Assume best intentions. I know a lot of people do things to us throughout our daily life, and we're like, what? Why did you do that? Or why did you say that? None of this stuff. But assume best intentions. Assume people generally are trying to do what's right. And then the second thing I want to say, I got this actually from my recent class, my social work class, and it was a quote my teacher used, and it said, every time I'm having a bad day, I remind myself that my track record for getting through bad days is 100%. And it's true. If you are still here, you have a perfect track record of getting through bad, tough, hard situations. So anytime you're going through something, you're like, I can't do it. Just remember, hey, you just went through something and you did it 100%. And you said the same thing when you was going through that, which is, I can't do this. And guess what? You're here today. So just two things to leave you all with. No matter what you're going through, remember your track record for getting through stuff, no matter what stuff it is, has been 100% so far. And that's at the fact that you're watching this video. I know it has been because you're still here. So,
yes, indeed.
This is my closing thing.
We appreciate that, Slam. Thank you once again so much. I really appreciate your energy and your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
My pleasure. And for all those listening, as always, we're wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you.
One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.